you are able, put your hand in a fist and hold it out in front of you. Now close your eyes and concentrate your mind on your fist. Yourself inside your head to open your fist. Say to yourself in your head, open, open, open hand. But do not open your hand. Keep repeating these directions in your mind while remaining with your fist. You can now open your eyes and unclench your fists. So let's debrief. What was this? Coming through our mind. The thoughts not actually manifest to physical action in this exercise. We change the fact that our fists remain closed. And our thoughts were overpowered by our consciousness, the awareness that we should not yet open our fists, despite them constantly firing in our mind throughout the exercise. Thus, we are not our mind. Did you know this? Or have you ever thought about this before? It can be difficult to conceptualize that we are not our mind, and I certainly gave no thought to this until about 8 months ago. Until 8 months ago, I spent my whole life believing that all the thoughts coming through my mind were true. And despite having grown up in the most loving home, in a constant, warm, and positive atmosphere with my parents and twin sister that double as best friends, incredible friends within an encouraging community, the messages sent through my mind were not kind at all. Like many others, I thought my identity was based on merely the sum of my thoughts. And this led me to a lot of suffering because I believed and accepted as fact the daily hostility of my mind. Now, we are all having a constant inner conversation with ourselves. In fact, is where we spend the majority of our lives. Researchers have long attempted to calculate the exact number of thoughts that the brain has per day, and their numbers range from 12 to 60,000. The National Science Foundation and others are still trying to narrow that number down. But we are actually innately hardwired for negativity, meaning that our brains are basically in a default position of worry. And this is because, from an evolutionary standpoint, our primitive ancestors had to be able to register threats in order to survive, and were thus more attuned to negative stimuli. Now, modern research by social psychologists like John Cacioppo and his team, as well as others, has demonstrated how these systems developed by our brains have been maintained. Their studies looked at the cerebral cortex, an area of the brain, and measured the magnitude of information processing taking place as a response to universally negative, positive, or neutral stimuli. And what was found was that subjects exhibited the greatest surge of electrical activity in their brain as a response to the negative stimuli. And there is actually a term attributed to this phenomenon in science, and it is the negativity bias. Now, this negative thought pattern in our brain can have devastating effects. The mind turns hostile and is able to trick us into the gloom-ridden thoughts it constantly fires without an end. And it triggers inside of ourselves, oftentimes not even conscious, but unconscious emotional reactions, and influences our behaviors, identities, and actions. Before we get stuck in this loop. And for myself, this loop led to hopelessness. I would wake up and go to bed with the same thoughts every day. I am not enough, I am a terrible person, I'm doing a bad job, I shouldn't be here. These thoughts are not logical nor rational, but they creep in and stay in circulation inside the body, despite you doing your best and trying to do the right thing every single day. These imprison the mind while simultaneously distorting our reality. And from there, not everyone is able to break out of the prison that becomes their mind. My dear friend Hannah fell victim to her mind and lost her life to suicide 5 years ago. She was brilliant, kind, loving, and had the whole world ahead of her. And she continues to inspire me after the end of her life. Your mind should not be a prison. Your mind should be a safe place within yourself, a home. Why do we accept our minds, in which we reside the majority of our lives, to be an unsafe place if we would not accept the same thing from our physical residencies? Learning how to filter your mind and its thoughts is a skill that, when learned and practiced, is something from which we can all benefit. Over the nearly past year's worth of time, I feel that I've found 4 solid steps to achieving and putting the skill into practice to make the mind a home again. Because it's not impossible. And a principle in neuroscience called Hebb's Law provides us with some supporting evidence for this. It states that when the axon, or nerve impulse carrying portion of one cell, is close enough and able to excite and activate that of another cell and can perform activation in a repetitive and persistent way, then some type of metabolic change occurs in one or both cells, which is incredible. We can literally get out of the evolutionary design box negative belief, and we can change the thought pattern in our brain. But this process of change requires a commitment. Step 1, which is to fully commit with intentionality to the transformation you are about to undergo. This is kind of like signing a contract with yourself and should be honored. And the key here is intentionality. In philosophy, intentionality means the power of minds or mental states to be about, to represent, to stand for. For us, this means being intentional about the uphill, difficult journey ahead. So what is it that you stand for that makes you decide to transform? For myself, I'd been through a series of events that led me to make a promise, and I promised myself that I stand for fighting against this trap mentality in which I was stuck, and many, many others are still today, and I stand for fighting as hard as I wish I had fought for the life of my dear friend Hannah, who had left us all way too soon. Intentionality, we can move on to our second step. And step 2 is essentially about relearning how to feel your feelings. Because currently, many of us live on emotional survival mode without even knowing it. And this is an automatic response to the mind being exposed to so many chronic stressors, like, hello, our negative thoughts. Many negative effects can cause the repression and resistance of emotions. And what happens when we try to push that emotion away, to make it disappear in the moment, is it actually ends up being stored deeper within our bodies. And shown to have profound effects on our mental and physical health, all in which are negative. So the goal here is to transition away from emotional survival mode, and we can do this by allowing ourselves to flood our bodies with all that we've previously suppressed, sitting in it, and then letting it go. This is a feel and release process. And it's actually much harder said than done, and the reason for this is because the pain that is associated with our repressed emotions can be so overwhelmingly terrifying to face. But it can be done, and after we release, we are now free. We are free from that emotion, and we are no longer tied to it. So there are various methods that you can go about doing this feel and release process, but I will share one I learned from a book and then made some personal modifications too, because I think it really works well and can be done in 10 minutes. So first, when you feel that uncomfortable or negative emotion arise, acknowledge it and find a name as specific as you can to it. Like, use the most specific adjective or noun to what that feeling is called. Go beyond like anger or sadness. And please do this without self-judgment or criticism. Next, find in your body where physical symptoms arise from that negative emotion. Does the anger make your liver broil? Or is the panic causing your chest and throat to tighten? Now, go to that place in the body and sit and feel that uncomfortable emotion until it passes, because I promise it will pass. And when it does, you are now free. And that emotion is no longer lurking in the depths of your body, waiting to come out in some detrimental form to you. So that is the beauty of feel and release. Now on to our third step. Step 3 is intentional, consistent, positive self-affirmations. And this one may maybe seem obvious. Earnestly on a daily basis. Positive self-talk in the form of affirmations has been studied and shown to increase activity in areas of the brain responsible for meditation, concentration, attention, and sleep. And all this is atop helping the individual maintain a positive self-view. Now, what exactly are we supposed to positively if we've never done so before? You can actually create affirmative statements based on your core values. Or another great place to start is with the following example that has 2 phrases. I am enough, I'm doing a great job. Repeat these in the mirror, almost as a mantra, with intentionality, while really focusing on what it is that you are saying. And you may not believe what you are saying for the first days or weeks even. But eventually, the repetition and your intentionality will inevitably begin to change your inner dialogue, bringing you so much closer to that safe mind. Now on to our 4th and final step. And this one, some of you extroverts may not like. I certainly did not at first either at all. Step 4 is solitude. Because in solitude is where we are able to make those positive affirmations a habit. And it's where we're able to connect deeper with ourselves and to learn to live more authentically and to live on our own terms. Time in solitude, along with its many beautiful effects, can also lead you to becoming your own best friend. Before mastering this skill, I was previously pulled towards other people, things, or any external sources that I relied on to keep me happy. But with time and practice, it became easier to replace those things with loving to be by myself. And I learned to love myself unconditionally and to support myself without wavering, like I do my other best friends. And this process of spending quality time with yourself definitely requires a lot of time and energy, and is thus an investment, but it is such a worthy investment because it takes you from being uncomfortable alone to finding this amazing clarity that no one else can provide for you. Because at the end of the day, no one else can feel your feelings for you, or make a commitment for you, or self-reflect for you. And that is why time in solitude is precious and a gift. So for you extroverts or anyone else initially discouraged by this step, it may actually end up being something you look forward to. And don't be surprised to notice a shift in the way you begin showing up for yourself and others as a result. So please, never give up on yourself and never give up on your life. You can find hope again. Our 4 steps to transformation are committing with intentionality, relearning how to feel your feelings, consistent, intentional, positive affirmations, and time in solitude. Following through these steps with intentionality will inevitably lead to old habits and old ways of being falling out, and new habits creating new data points in the brain instead. And here is Hebb's Law again, reaffirming that change is possible. Thank you.
That really was incredible, Lina, and what a way to end this year's main stage event. We just want to say, before you all get up and leave, thank you so much for coming out today and supporting our speakers. Before you all leave, we would like to welcome up our president, Andrea Zepp, to say just a few more words, some closing remarks from her.
All right, well, I hope you all enjoyed. I know I did. It's been a pleasure working with this team and all of these speakers. It has been a great journey, and I'm super happy to have shared it with all these people. So lastly, I would love to invite all of our team who have worked so tirelessly over the past couple of months to make this event possible, all of our DLP students in our freshman year program. And I would just like to iterate again that this is a student-led organization. So they have all dedicated their time and efforts to making this possible.